Hey everyone, it's coming up to the end of the month, and we all know this is our chance to answer your questions and get involved with the community. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely assistant. Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast. You're joined by me, your host, Max Pears, and my lovely, beautiful, and always ever charming assistant, producer, my man, Alex P. Partridge. The P stands for nothing. It stands for phony. That's what it stands, because it doesn't exist.
I mean, last time we had, I said, can we start with these epic introductions? I mean, I think you lived up to that promise, because I've just been belittled right off the bat. Thanks. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
For a second, I didn't.
To be here, I guess.
For a second, I was like, why is he into? And I was like, I see. The phony stood for the P, because the P was phony, not because of you. But I can instantly see now where the common misconception. Yeah, I've got myself in trouble in many situations like this. So yes, everyone, for those of you who are new to the podcast, because we've got quite a few new listeners joining us as of recent, this is, and we do this once a month, where we get to take our questions and answer them from you amazing people. I think this is the 8th episode of us doing this. So it's great that we get a chance to do this, and we are obviously enjoying this to do it. This one's slightly better planned than last time. But we do appreciate and do hope that you did enjoy our ramblings of the previous one. And,
more ramblings to follow, though, I hope. I mean,
yes.
Plenty left to ramble, I think. We're not short of material.
That is it. Our brains are just canvases waiting to be painted. I was trying to sound sexy and Instagram-worthy, but when I listen to it, I'm like, that's not Instagram-worthy. Who's gonna quote that when looking out on a sea in Thailand or someone? No one.
Whereas I would have said our minds are more like rubbish tips, just filled with crap, just ready to just burst forth and bless everyone with the stench of our knowledge.
It got better at the end.
Have that for a mental image.
Don't think it's a good one.
God, what are we doing?
This is kicking off smooth, ladies and gentlemen. The smoothest one. But no, we're a little bit tired, I must admit, because it's a little bit later than normal in terms of our recording schedule. So you will have to forgive us for our insane ramblings. But nonetheless, we do have some great questions provided by you amazing gurus, which we're going to actually answer this week. So thank you very much to everyone who asked questions. If we don't get around to it this week, please note, we will get around to it later on when we record another episode.
There's only so many questions we can realistically answer in an episode, and sometimes you guys just lay them on really heavy, and it's like, whoa, we just got to step back and pace them a bit, because, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to listen to us, go on for an hour. That would be like personal hell.
Psst, Alex, this is where you lie and say I would listen to this forever.
Can't do it. I can't do it.
Take 2, Alex. Take 2. So yeah, we're gonna get into this one. We've got 4 questions. This one, but we're gonna give as much attention as we can to each of these individual gems, and we're just gonna. Should we just kick into it, my friend?
Aye, let's do it. Let's
go for it. Okay.
So the first question comes from Eric. And he has asked, what would you say is the easiest type of game/level to design? What's your favourite?
Okay, so this one is firstly a loaded question. No. It's an interesting one because in terms of the easiest, I don't think there is such a thing as an easy level. Just because of genre or camera perspective, it doesn't make things easier. It may simplify things. For example, when I say simplify, that's not an insult or anything. If you think about 2D platformers, because of the fact that we've had such a breadth of games in that genre, you've got a lot to learn from. Probably one of the most common games to learn from in terms of genre. And also you don't have to worry about another axis. It's just running across the X and jumping on the Y. However, that does not mean it's the easiest to design for, nor does any other. For example, would you class a pitch from FIFA a level, or a track taken from Formula One that you've just literally copied from real life? I don't think there is such a thing as an easy one. Maybe the F1 or a racing track, which is just a carbon copy for the game. But even then, I'm pretty sure there would be differences made in the virtual world compared to that of the actual real world, because it's different driving in reality to is in gaming. Depends if you're going from a more simulation feel to that of a more arcade-ish feel. It's a tough one to answer. I have not designed for every genre and every type of game as well, and that's a thing to understand from my point of view, so I don't feel I can fully answer that question. I do think, in terms of it though, I would either say a racing track from one that you literally are copying, but again, that does not mean it's the easiest. I'm just on about there is a lot more reference to it. I don't think anyone's easy, and I don't want to insult anyone's work either, because I think they're all stuff there. I just say, if you do have a strong reference pool to gather from, then honestly, your life becomes a lot easier for it. So that's what I'll say on that one. And sorry for not giving the most precise answer on that, but again, I don't think it should be viewed as this level's harder because it's an open world genre compared to that of a linear game. Because yes, there are differences. We're going to go a little bit more detail here. An open world mission, and especially if it's not a main mission, primarily is designed with a 360 approach, that you can approach this from any kind of angle, compared to that of a more linear game, which you know where the play is starting and you know where it's going to finish. But just because of that, there is definitely more difficulties in there. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, because when you look at linear games, and if you take that of the high quality of Naughty Dog against maybe some other linear games, honestly, they still do amazing things that make linear games feel fantastic. So I don't think there is an easy or a difficult one because of genre or style of levels. All of it comes down to hard work to make sure it works. Playtesting, iteration, research, all of this helps make an important level. And that's something that you should focus on more, on how I can make it better, rather than what's an easier or more difficult level, in my opinion. For me there. I don't know if you want to add anything to that point, Alex, mate.
No, I think you've covered that pretty well. I mean, what about the favourite part of the question? What's your favourite kind of game or level to design? Either stuff that you've worked on already, or stuff that you are either professionally or personally. Anything that jumps out?
Yeah, there is. I'll start first with, I don't want to use the term least favourite because that's not the correct, but one of the more challenging ones is definitely making a more procedural level. After my experience on Underground, you can go see episode 12, where myself and lead level designer Stuart Scott talk about our experience in making procedural levels. That's a very different experience, in my opinion. It's a very tough one. And in terms of mindset, you've got to be used to letting go of control compared to having more control because it's less handcrafted. But I was dodging the question. Do you see that master? Oh, I felt like Floyd Mayweather there. Do you see that?
Dodge and weave.
Dodging through. Yeah, exactly. Shake and bake. But bad reference there. But favourite, that's an interesting one. Do you know, after finishing work on Division 1, at one point it was open world levels, because I felt there was so much to learn on that. So much, because as I mentioned earlier, the 360 approach, how do you make these as interesting from each side? And how do you make sure that they come to the same funnel points? So they all start in a different place, but then they get to funnel or choke point 1, and then it opens up again to the next one, and then maybe the end of mission. So how does that work? I used to be, still am, but I used to really have an interest in that, and I think I will coming forward. But I tell you the ones that interest me the most from it. Oh, just back to the open world. Breath of the Wild, their design of things is fantastic because of the fact there is that many ways to approach it, not just on an entry point, but how you use mechanics. And I think that's my favorite type of levels, is the amount of options that you can give a player, whether it be Breath of the Wild, Dishonored, Deus Ex, all of those styled ones, to me, from a playing point of view, interest me, because you might play this level, Alex, and you could have done something very different to how I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's always a cool one, because you feel smart, because you figured out your way to handle it, and it also you feel it's more of a personal experience.
Yeah.
Because of the fact, for example, I might upgrade Adam Jensen on Deus Ex to be a strong guy, unlike me, the flabby master, to that's not my new nickname or my Tinder profile, but it's, I've done this, but you might have chosen a more hacking route, but then we can talk about it, and it encourages replayability, and that one's great. And I think an interesting point that you have to switch your mindset on this one with those, though, is understand that it's okay that players won't see your content and not be annoyed at that, because obviously we spend a lot of time developing. But yes, the one with the most options is the ones that excite me personally the most in terms of things. That's my personal, like I said, those games to me are very, very good.
Awesome.
Do you have a favorite type of level, mate? It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's a very tough one. I'm trying to think. I don't know whether I have anything valid to add to this.
If you don't, mate, there's no worries, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Nothing sort of springs off the top of my head, if I'm honest. I don't feel like I've sort of made enough levels to be able to say, what's my favourite. But then I suppose I could always say, like, the sort of stuff I like working on, can't I?
Yeah, that's it, or even stuff that you've played that inspires you, like I said with the option stuff. I've not made any of that.
Yeah, the maximum agency stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, my favourite type of levels, that more so on the side of playing rather than making, as I've not got as much experience in the field of design as someone like Max, but the sort of levels I enjoy playing are ones that have like a really good amount of storytelling integrated into them, either through what we have the player doing or what the player is seeing. Like, I'm really big on story and narrative and world lore and world building. So any type of level that has a lot of visual interest and a lot of story to tell. There's often quite a bit of a cliche over the words, "Oh, but the environment is a character," when certain game companies pitch their games, but it's true. Like, and I respond really well to those environments, because to me it just gives the games and the content we're playing just so much more life, so much more interest. And I always try and build that into whatever project it is I'm creating, because I am, like I say, I am personally really into narrative, story, characters, all that. So that's the stuff I like. Not necessarily had much opportunity to do that yet, but it's something I do want to work on moving forward, definitely.
Yeah, man, some good shouts there, some good shouts. And also it's interesting how we have a different preference, which I think is cool as well. I like that.
Love games? Love game design? We do too. So why not help us here at Level Design Lobby spread the word? With Patreon, from as little as $1 per month, you can do just that. And new for 2019, we have more reward tiers and even more awesome perks on offer, such as access to our community Discord, level design weekends, exclusive talks by professional designers, one-on-one sessions, and much more. Sound interesting? Then head on over to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. As always, we'd like to say a massive thank you to all the game gurus who've backed us so far. It's thanks to your generous support that we can continue to grow, pursue new opportunities, and bring you new, awesome, and exciting content. So thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
You ready to hit me with question numero 2?
So this next question comes from Zay, and I'll preface this by sort of saying that we've kind of maybe stolen this question. Max had an email from this person in particular about a blog series that he was doing about interviewing developers with alternative sort of questions, not the usual sort of thing that people would be asked. And we actually really liked this one. So full shout out to Zay to thinking up this question, but we liked it so much we thought we'd ask it here. And my question is, what are some of the things that keep you going when things get tough?
Yeah, thank you very much, Zay, and we appreciate it, and we will get around to answering those other questions that you've sent to us as well. Keeps me going, that's a really tough one. I think it's a really interesting one because game development seems to be only taking longer now. It was much shorter. I mean, mobile development, I think, still has quite a quick turnaround, but it seems that, with games getting bigger, it's taking even longer now, I'd say, with producing bigger games. Keeps me going. There's a few things, honestly. There's a few things. Firstly, it's the chance to get better and make my work improve. Because especially when you're starting your first iteration, you might, for example, get your work up to alpha for one level, and then you have to go off and do other content and bring them to alpha. So knowing that I will get a chance to revisit this work, and also because of the fact that in development stuff grows, new things are added or things are taken away, whatever, what have you, you're going to come back with a bit more of a clearer understanding of the project when you revisit these. So knowing that your work is going to get better is one that keeps me motivated because I have a chance to prove to not only the team, but also to myself that I am better than what I was X weeks, months, or however long ago it was. And I think that's a big thing for me. The chance to learn as well, because there is always something to learn, whether that comes from a failure of something that I've done. I've had work scrapped and cancelled on me, some due to no fault of my own, due to changing the game, and other ones doing because the work wasn't good enough. And that's okay, because that's how you learn. Things don't always work out how you intend it. So that's one of the big ones for me. Another one, motivational videos, obviously, is a big thing that keeps me going. No, I think also just the chance to see this game progress, because sadly, a lot of the times you don't know what the game's going to turn out to be. You might have an idea, but you don't actually see it until right near the end when everything kind of just clicks together. And so the chance you get to see that, I will never forget, especially working on Division Underground. God, it was so hectic and none of us knew how it was going to work, if it was going to work. And we finally got a test build of just this level stitched together. The level was not good, but we saw it. We saw how it all played. And I remember there must have been about 50 of us crowded around this one TV, the sofa. It was my level design director playing it at the time. And it was just that moment where it's like, okay, I now know what it is we're kind of making. Yes, this may not be great, but I can see it. We've got a base, we've got a benchmark. Now we know the focus is on making it better, not on what is the idea, but making it better. I think that's a big one. And then probably finally, well, I've got two more. One is my team. Making sure you have a strong team relationship is important. And that's always important to me. I try to make sure that I have a team that you don't even have to necessarily that you like, but in terms of you have strong camaraderie, you want to help each other grow and push. And that's a big thing for me. Having that team around me is brilliant. And finally, I guess this comes back to making things better, but that opportunity to learn, it can be such a slow process and sometimes a painful one, but the chance to learn is something that will always excite me. The part of the reason I do this podcast with Alex is because I'm learning. I'm forcing myself to take a deeper dive in games that maybe I wouldn't have prior. And because of that, I still take courses online. I still read articles, watch other videos, or listen to other podcasts, because there's far more educated people out there than myself. So the learning opportunity is always the biggest for me. But that's it in terms of my motivation there, mate.
I'm not exactly the poster child of motivation when it comes to tirelessly sort of working away on my projects and ideas. I go through phases all the time of sometimes being really enthused by what it is I want to work on, and then other times just wanting to look at anything but. So I'm a person who's very visually motivated. I'm motivated by seeing progress, by seeing a nice piece of artwork, by, as Max mentioned before, seeing something come together. And as a solo dev, those sort of moments are a lot fewer and far between. So in many ways, it is a lot harder to stay motivated sometimes. But as I said before, like, one of the big things that I do in my work and what I aim for when I do my projects is I always start out by creating a visual identity or a language for what it is I'm working on, usually in the form of, say, like a logo or a poster, just a single image that gives me something to focus on, that I can look at and envision what this project could be by the time I'm finished with it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but having that visual motivator, that visual point of focus, is really important to me and something I find really helps. So much so that whilst I've not got around to doing it yet because of time issues, one thing I do want to go away and do is to create some full-sized posters to put on my wall for my projects. So I can look at these framed items, and even though they're not completed works, they're not finished and probably won't be finished for a number of years, every time I'm feeling uninspired or just not wanting to work on things that I know will make me happy, I can just turn to one side, look up at the wall, and see these visions of what I know these games can be. So that's a big thing. That's definitely a big thing for me. And as I said, motivation comes and goes. You're not always going to want to work on the projects you want to work on, and sometimes you won't be able to. But the best way to sort of stay on track really is to just fight through those blockades and just work.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. Before we recorded, me and Alex did have a good talk about these kind of like, you mentioned the posters, for example, which I think is a great thing. I actually have, and some people are going to laugh at this, but I actually have a printout of images of my favorite developers, or ones that I look up to, and I have that in my apartment, and one is, for example, above my PC right now, so I can look at them and be like, man, like, they have done it. They have a career that I am after, in a sense. I'm inspired by their creative power and what they are able to do. Obviously, there's a team behind them as well, for the most part, so the ones of the people I've selected. But that's a big thing to help me to see these people who have done and paved the way for us. That's another one there. But yeah, it's a good one. A good answer, Alex, mate. I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
What's our next question, good sir?
So the next question comes from Zornag, and this is something I think that you're going to have to sort of bear solo, because this is very career orientated, this one. So apologies.
It's all right.
They have asked, what are some of the common career moves after senior/lead level design, and what do you think should be done as preparation for these roles?
That's a tough one, because I'm not going to be able to speak from my own personal experience in this. As many of you know, I'm at a stage where I'm at an intermediate or specialist, as it's also known, at level designer. So I'm still working towards that level of a senior and lead myself. So I want to preference that by saying that. So I can only speak from what I've seen around me. And just before we get to the ones after this stage, I want to talk about lead for a number of reasons. Because a friend of mine has just recently become a lead level designer. And honestly, it's not what you think it might be. To me, and when after speaking to him, it's a whole other set of skills to be a lead. Because you're less involved in the actual crafting of levels. You're not making as much. And you have to learn to let go of things. You might work with your seniors to create the vision or the outline of what each level must contain, how it must go. We mentioned earlier about funnel points, so you would set the rules of if there is funnel points, or how many play styles, for example, is there needed to progress through these type of missions. You may come up with that, but you probably are not going to create that. So you need to learn a sense of that. You also have to have a better understanding of people and people management, and also time management, because you're not only just looking at your time, but you're now looking at the production cost for your whole team. And you've got to do that. So you have to have that. And then also you're going to be doing a lot of feedback. So now it comes to a new skill set of how do you give feedback, because directors and that, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, tend to not give specific feedback on all the levels or all the missions. Some might, but primarily that will be given to the lead, as they will look through some. They will come through all, but probably not till later. And the lead has to then give out the information and also work with the leads of other departments to make sure that they're, again, acting on the same vision to make the game as well. Because they're also getting information from directors to make sure that they're meeting up with the director's visions for that. So lead is its own skill set. You must have more people management. You must have a lot more trust, and also learn how to give feedback and time management as well. So I wouldn't skip over lead. I think lead is its own challenge. So I want to mention on that one. As for where I've seen people go, I've seen ranges, honestly. I've seen people just leave and just go start up their own bed and breakfasts, and that's fine. But in terms of actual progression throughout, one of the steps tends to be that of a producer. I've seen a lot of people move in a production kind of role. Again, that is a very different kind of set of skills though, but I've seen a lot of people move into that. I've seen others move into directing positions, such as level design director or even game director as well. These comes next. I only know a little bit about this from my listening to interviews. I'm currently on a massive, massive man crush and creative crush on Corey Barlog. I think he is such a very interesting designer, not only because he constantly mentions his issues with OCD, but also how he has developed throughout his career. To say he worked on the early God of Wars, left, and came back and has has pushed a reimagining of God of War, and it's come out so well. But I've only known and seen one person I knew who's gone up to director, and that is my former lead and mentor, and someone I truly, truly respect and look up to, which is Manny Diaz. He is now level design director at Ubisoft. A very, very smart man. Oh, also my old other mentor, which is Simon Cooper, who is a technical director. But these are different types of directors, have different types of roles, and I couldn't really inform you of what they are. I've seen people also lead to be freelancers in terms of consultations. That is another thing out there for people. Much rarer in terms of level design, I must admit, compared to that of an artist or even sound or animator. But those are just some of the ones there. But please note, and really take this into consideration, guys, because I see a lot of people that just come in, and I think probably I made some mistakes, as much as I don't want to admit it, where, I'm going to go be this, and I look to be that. Focus on where you are. Study and study hard. There is a lot of failures coming, and when I say failures, I'm excited for you to fail, and I'm excited for myself to fail, because these are lessons to be learned. This is how you get better. So focus on your current position and really get as good as you can and learn from not only your profession, but from other professions around you, as I think that's super important. So that's my answer to that one. Young Alex.
So, final question of this week is a light-hearted one, a bit of a jolly one. And it is, if you could only eat one thing forever, would it be cookies and milk or mac and cheese?
This is a toughie. Because no matter what, you're going to
Toughest question yet.
Yes.
It's like, senior lead level design? Pfft, no.
Yeah, I can answer that all day. No matter what you take, you're going to end up hating the meal. That's the kicker. At first, I was going to say cookies, but then they lost me at milk. I do not like drinking. I mean, I like almond milk. Almond milk's what I have.
I mean, could be with almond milk. I mean,
They didn't say that, Alex. I'm going to stick to the rules of the question. No. Do you know, I had some mac and cheese when I was in Canada, and I was really disappointed in it. So it's kind of put me in a bit of a bad spot with mac and cheese. Oh, I just know I'd end up getting bored of cookies real fast. But I do love sweet. Do you know, I've got a sweet tooth. I'm going for cookies, and if I can change the milk to almond milk or hazelnut milk, I will do that. I'm going to roll with that one. I will get fatter and fatter. I also will probably die from malnutrition because of the fact that there is very little stable content in these, but strong bones, calcium.
I mean, when I saw this question, I was sort of thinking, you know, I approached it from the aspect of, I assume this is going to be like, if you could eat one thing and essentially ignore all the negative health impacts it's going to have, or if it wouldn't do anything, like you could literally just eat one thing forever and ever and it would have no effect, then I would say cookies and milk all the way. Like, I have a really big sweet tooth and I have to try really hard to rein that in.
Yeah.
So I mean, as much as I do love a good mac and cheese, my mum, when we were younger, she used to make an awesome mac and cheese. It was one of my brother's favourite meals when he was a kid. And as much as I love that and I have fond memories of that meal, like, for me, it's going to have to be the cookies and milk, because that is such just a timeless combination of two elements.
Right. I want to ask you that, because I never had cookies and milk. And I said partly because I was never a big milk drinker. Mm-hmm. You know, I find it weird that you dunk your cookies in milk. Honestly, I find that a bizarre thing, personally. Like, I don't feel it adds anything to it. I could be wrong. But I feel that's much more of an American, North American thing.
It is.
Than an English thing, in my opinion.
I will give you that. It is definitely more American in its origins, but it is something that I have done in the past.
Right, but like, how often have you gone, right, cookies, what am I missing? That sweet glass of milk.
I'll admit, you know, I am partial to a pack of cookies every so often in my shopping basket, but probably most of the time I do probably eat them without milk. I will give you that. Yeah, but
I'm not trying to pick holes in the answer. I just think
yeah, you are,
because we've both picked the same answer. So I'm not gonna shame you into this because I've got the same one. But I just find it interesting when he said, when the option was cookies and milk, because as I said, it's not really an English thing, you know.
You could probably say the same about both options, because cookies and milk and mac and cheese is massive in the US.
Yes, like, far bigger than in the UK. I agree. So, but I feel that one's translated more because we just have more pasta dishes anyway. So, but as I'm saying, it's like, because it's a type of meal you put together, and I don't know why I'm going into so much detail and venting frustration on this.
This is supposed to be a simple question, Max, but you're just making this a lot more difficult than it has to be.
I'm just sticking by, how dare you have milk with your... No. As I say, it's just not really a thing that we have, so I'll trade it for almond milk and drink that, I guess.
Again, for me, cookies and milk all the way.
You make me sick. But no, thank you all very much for your questions. Honestly, people, it's been amazing to have you gurus ask these questions, even the more zany ones. We do appreciate this, even though I will probably go on a rant for milk and cookies. But I've really had a great time, and we do appreciate this very much.
Always.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much for the questions. If you do want to get in touch with us, you can do so via either Twitter. I am at Max Pears. Alex is...
I'm at Alex M. Partridge.
Notice there is no P. And you can email in. Even now I look back, I'm like, yeah, I can see how my joke was badly translated. You can email in at leveldesignlobby@gmail.com and we'll answer anything there. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the podcast. That's where you can make sure you catch us. We do release, and I have seen this question pop up more than I thought it ever would, but we do release every Tuesday. And we release once a week, primarily. There may be 1 or 2 months where we don't, and that is primarily because of such things as Christmas or other big family events, but primarily it's once a week, every Tuesday. If you haven't already, please do go check out the Patreon, because we've got a lot of amazing goodies there. You can join the amazing community, and that is where we pick the top priority questions from our community on Patreon as well. So yeah, everyone, unless you got anything else to add, Alex, have I missed anything?
Nope, you're all good.
Just the P for phony. That's me. Thank you all very much, and we will catch you all next time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.